Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts, and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines first. US designates LET proxy behind Pahalgam attack as foreign terrorist organization. Pakistan steeped in fanaticism and terrorism, India tells UNSC. And Baloch activists rally in London on 5th anniversary of Mir Taj Sarfaraz's disappearance. In a significant boost to India's global counter-terrorism narrative, the United States has designated the Resistance Front, a Pakistan-backed terror outfit operating in Jammu and Kashmir, as a foreign terrorist organization and a specially designated global terrorist. The move not only validates India's long-standing concerns about Pakistan's role in sponsoring terrorism, but also marks a crucial step in tightening the noose on outfits like Lashkar-e-Taiba and its front groups. Our next report brings you the geopolitical implications of this designation and how it exposes the Pakistani deep state's continued use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy. On July 18, 2025, the US State Department officially designated the Resistance Front, or TRF, as a foreign terrorist organization under Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act and as a specially designated global terrorist. The designation was welcomed by India, with External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar calling it a strong affirmation of India-US counter-terrorism cooperation. The diplomatic ramifications are significant. With this designation, TRF will face global financial sanctions, asset freezes, and tighter intelligence sharing between the US and India. It also raises the cost for any nation or entity providing material support to TRF. In Jammu and Kashmir, this is expected to disrupt the group's weapon and narcotic supply routes. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio cited the Pahalgam massacre as a key driver behind the designation, calling it the deadliest attack on Indian civilians since 2008.
It is a strong, re-emphasis, and it reflects US-India cooperation, deep cooperation. It is also the result of the sustained efforts made by our Prime Minister and our Ministry of External Affairs when they sent out parliamentary delegations across over 30 countries to make nations aware and to sensitize them to India's pain. This is very much a positive development. It is very strong on two fronts. One, operationally. Now it means that the TRF is identified and the terrorists associated with it are marked out. So that's on the operation front. It is also very strong symbolically because it sends a signal to any other intending groups that in future also now any violent terrorist activities would be mapped out and they will be brought to justice.
TRF is widely recognized as a proxy of Pakistan-based terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba, an internationally designated terrorist group responsible for the 2008 Mumbai attacks. TRF gained notoriety following its involvement in the Pahalgam terror attack in April 2025, which killed 26 tourists targeted for their faith.
जो ये दरिंदा ये लोग हैं जो बेगुनाह लोगों को कत्ल करते हैं, इन पे तो पूरी बैन लगनी चाहिए और इनका पूरा खात्मा होना चाहिए, क्योंकि इससे पीछे और भी लोग हैं, जो नौजवान लोग हैं जिनकी हत्या न की जाए और जिनको इन लोगों को बेगुनाह न मारा जाए, जैसे आदिल की मौत या और 26 लोगों की मौत इन्होंने घाट पे उतारी। तो इस पे हम खुश हैं कि इन पे पूरी बैन लगनी चाहिए।
पाकिस्तान को ही आतंकवादी राष्ट्र घोषित करना चाहिए, पूरी दुनिया को आतंकवाद के खिलाफ होना चाहिए। आतंकवाद का दर्द सिर्फ हमारे हिंदुस्तान ने नहीं झेला है, उस अमेरिका ने भी झेला है आतंकवाद का दर्द। और संपूर्ण दुनिया आतंकवाद से लड़ रही है। संपूर्ण विश्व के बड़े नेताओं को एक होकर के आतंकवाद के जन्मदाता, आतंकवाद को पोषित करने वाले पाकिस्तान को आतंकवादी राष्ट्र घोषित करना चाहिए।
But while the international community tightens the net around TRF, Pakistan continues its policy of denial. Islamabad's Foreign Office issued a weak rebuttal, claiming that Lashkar-e-Taiba is defunct and that any linkage with the Pahalgam attack was misleading. But facts tell a different story. Pakistan, which brands itself as a frontline state in the fight against terror, ironically continues to shelter and support terrorist proxies like TRF, People's Anti-Fascist Front and Kashmiri Tigers, groups that have mushroomed post-2019 as part of Pakistan's attempt to secularize jihad and disguise cross-border terrorism as indigenous resistance. Formed after the Indian government's abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, TRF was part of a Pakistani strategy to create the illusion of a local resistance. But intelligence agencies have consistently highlighted that over 90% of TRF cadres are either Pakistani nationals or foreign terrorists trained and armed by the ISI.
US designating as a foreign terrorist organization and especially designated global terrorist outfit is a slap on the face of Pakistan, which has been actually trying to portray that it is a local resistance front constituted of Kashmiri boys, which is not true. It is all more than 90% of the TRF is composed of Pakistani terrorists and foreign terrorists. So aptly it has been designated as, basically it is a front of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, just a name change, because Pakistan wants to mislead the world. And I think with China's help they were blocking it.
From 2018 to 2022, Pakistan was under intense scrutiny by the Financial Action Task Force for failing to curb terror financing. In response, the Pakistani deep state adapted by spawning new fronts, TRF, PAFF and Kashmiri Tigers, to carry on the objectives of Lashkar and Jaish under new names. But with its economy crippled and foreign reserves depleted, Pakistan has increasingly turned to narco-terrorism to fund these groups, posing a transnational threat. India has repeatedly called for Pakistan-based terror outfits to be designated as global terrorist organizations. With the TRF designation, the US has taken a decisive step forward. Now, it remains to be seen if other nations follow suit, tightening pressure on Pakistan to dismantle its terror infrastructure or face global isolation. At a time when global forums are calling for multilateral cooperation to ensure peace and security, Pakistan continues to peddle old narratives while shielding the very terror networks that destabilize the region. In a scathing rebuttal at the United Nations Security Council, India's permanent representative, Ambassador Parvathaneni Harish, dove into Pakistan's duplicity, calling it a country steeped in fanaticism, terrorism, and economic dependency. The Indian envoy not only highlighted Islamabad's dangerous obsession with Kashmir, but also reminded the global community of the price innocent civilians continue to pay for Pakistan's export of terror. This report brings you the full story.
During an open debate at the United Nations Security Council on promoting international peace and security through multilateralism and peaceful settlement of disputes, India took a strong stance against Pakistan's repeated misuse of international platforms.
The Indian subcontinent offers
India's permanent representative to the UN, Parvathaneni Harish, drew a sharp contrast between India's global vision and Pakistan's destructive agenda.
At the other extreme is Pakistan, steeped in fanaticism.
Ambassador Harish's remarks came in direct response to Pakistan Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar, who, instead of focusing on the theme of peaceful cooperation, raked up the Jammu and Kashmir issue and the Indus Water Treaty, both of which have become Islamabad's predictable deflection tactics.
I am constrained also to respond to the remarks made by the representative of Pakistan. The Indian subcontinent offers a stark contrast in terms of progress, prosperity, and development models. On the one hand, there is India, which is a mature democracy, a surging economy, and a pluralistic and inclusive society. At the other extreme is Pakistan, steeped in fanaticism and terrorism, and a serial borrower from the IMF. As we debate promoting international peace and security, it is essential to recognize that there are some fundamental principles which need to be universally respected. One of them is zero tolerance for terrorism. On the one hand, there is India, which is a mature democracy.
India's diplomatic attack was not without evidence, from the 2008 Mumbai attacks that killed over 160 people to the Pulwama suicide bombing in 2019. Pakistan's fingerprints on cross-border terrorism are well documented. Most recently, the Pahalgam terror attack on 22nd April 2025, where 26 innocent tourists were killed, once again exposed Islamabad's continued support to terror outfits like Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. India responded with Operation Sindoor, a focused, non-escalatory strike on terrorist camps inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The UNSC, in a statement on April 25, underlined the need to bring the perpetrators and sponsors to justice.
There should also be a serious cost to states who violate the spirit of good neighborliness and international relations by fomenting cross-border terrorism. Recently, consequent to the gruesome terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir, on 22nd April 2025, that led to the killing of 26 innocent tourists, and based on the Council statement of 25th April, where members of the Security Council underlined the need to hold perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of this reprehensible act of terrorism accountable and bring them to justice, India launched Operation Sindoor, targeting terrorist camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, which was focused, measured, and non-escalatory in nature. On achieving its primary objectives, a cessation of military activities was directly concluded at the request of Pakistan.
Pakistan's credibility on the world stage has nosedived. A country that has approached the IMF over 23 times and remained on the FATF grey list from 2018 to 2022 for terror financing continues to evade responsibility. The international community has repeatedly flagged Pakistan's safe havens for terrorists. And most recently, on July 18, 2025, the US State Department officially designated the Resistant Front, a Lashkar-e-Toiba proxy, as a foreign terrorist organization under Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act and as a specially designated global terrorist. This move reinforced the global understanding that terror groups operating from Pakistani soil continue to threaten international peace. While Pakistan clings to outdated propaganda, India continues to uphold the principles of responsible diplomacy. Whether it's contributing to UN peacekeeping missions, advocating for climate action, or driving regional economic growth, India's commitment to global peace stands in stark contrast to Pakistan's duplicity. Even as the world calls for unity, Pakistan remains trapped in a toxic cycle of denial, economic collapse, and extremist support. India's message at the United Nations was not just a rebuttal, it was a wake-up call for those still buying into Islamabad's false narrative.
Balochistan remains a region gripped by unrest and repression. Reports of enforced disappearances, military oppressions, and systematic denial of rights continue to surface, with little accountability from the Pakistani state. In a powerful show of dissent, protesters gathered outside 10 Downing Street in London to mark 5 years since the disappearance of Baloch leader Mir Taj Muhammad Sarpara. The demonstration was led by his wife, Salia Murray, who called for justice not just for her husband, but for thousands of Baloch who remain missing. The protesters condemned Pakistan's human rights record in Balochistan and urged the international community to break its silence. We have a report.
A peaceful demonstration was recently held outside 10 Downing Street in London to mark the 5th anniversary of the enforced disappearance of Baloch leader Mirtaj Mohammad Sarpara. The protest, led by his wife Salia Mari, demanded justice not only for Sarpara but for all missing persons from Balochistan, including activists from Baloch Yakjehti Committee. Sarpara was reportedly abducted by Pakistan's intelligence agency, the ISI, from Karachi on July 19, 2020. His whereabouts remain unknown. While speaking to the crowd, Murray made a heartfelt appeal to the international human rights organizations and the global community, urging them to take immediate action.
एजेंसियों ने कैद में रखा है, टॉर्चर सेलों में उनको टॉर्चर कर रहा है। सिर्फ उनका गुनाह ये है कि वो बलोच हैं, उनका गुनाह ये है कि वो उन माओं के लिए खड़े होते हैं जिनके लाल अब तक टॉर्चर सेल में टॉर्चर बर्दाश्त कर रहे हैं। जो आज इस्लामाबाद में हमारी माहें बैठे हुए हैं, हमारी बहनें बैठे हुए हैं, उनका गुनाह क्या है? उनका गुनाह सिर्फ ये है कि उनके लालों को आपने टॉर्चर सेलों में बंद किया है। वो आपके दाद इस्लामाबाद इसलिए आए हैं अपने प्यारों को मांगे। वो आपसे कोई आपका हुकूमत या आपसे कोई और चीज मांगने नहीं आए हैं।
The rally brought together a broad coalition of political figures and human rights advocates. Supporters from both Gilgit and Balochistan were gathered to raise voices against the ongoing injustice. The demonstration highlighted the persistent problem of enforced disappearances in Balochistan, urging swift international action to bring those responsible to justice and to ensure the immediate release of Mirtaj Mohammad Sarpara along with all other missing Baloch persons. Activists condemned Pakistan's continued use of enforced disappearances and demanded urgent international accountability and justice for victims.
जो जुल्म आपने उन माओं के साथ कर रहे हैं, जो जुल्म आप मारंग, डॉक्टर मारंग और उसके साथियों के साथ कर रहे हैं, जो जुल्म आपने हमारे साथ किया, मैं खुद एक विक्टिम हूँ, 5 साल से जुल्म का शिकार हूँ। मैं और मेरे बच्चे, मेरे खानदान सब इस जुल्म का शिकार है। मेरे घर में 3-4 लाशें इसी 5 साल में मुझे मिले हैं, वो भी आपके जुल्म की वजह से। आप रोजाना, मेरी सास, मेरी नान आज हार्ट अटैक की पेशेंट हुए, जो इस दुनिया में नहीं है, वो भी आपके जुल्म की शिकार है। मैं बलोच कौम से अपील करती हूँ कि इन माओं की, इन बहनों की आवाज बनो, और कुछ नहीं कर सकते हो, इनकी साथ, इनका आवाज में आवाज बन के खड़े हो जाओ।
Balochistan continues to face systemic oppression. Protesters described how the Pakistani military has seized land, damaged environment, and exploited local natural resources. As the voices of Baloch families grow louder across the world, the call for justice and human dignity in Balochistan becomes harder to ignore. And this recent protest reflects a growing global plea for justice, dignity, and human rights in Balochistan.
Pakistan's economic turmoil continues to deepen, pushing millions to the edge. With inflation at record highs, unemployment on the rise, and yet another steep hike in petrol prices, everyday survival is becoming a growing challenge for citizens. Public frustration is mounting, with many questioning why domestic fuel prices continue to rise even as global rates decline. Soaring costs of food and utilities have only added to the burden, fueling criticism of the government's inability to provide meaningful relief. We have a report. In Pakistan, economic hardship has become a daily reality for millions. The working class and lower income groups are being crushed under skyrocketing inflation, growing joblessness, and a lack of economic opportunity. But the most recent hike in petrol prices has triggered a wave of fresh anger across the country. Despite a decline in international oil prices, the government has once again raised domestic fuel rates, a move many see as indifferent, if not outright cruel. Citizens accuse the administration of prioritizing fiscal adjustments and IMF demands over the lives of ordinary people.
मुझे एक चीज़ समझ में नहीं आती है, आलमी मंडी में पेट्रोल की कीमत नीचे आई जा रही है और हमारे यहाँ जब आलमी मंडी में पैसे नीचे आते हैं तो हमारे पैसे बढ़ जाते हैं। अब आप अंदाज़ा लगा लें, एक महीने के अंदर 2 दफ़ा पेट्रोल की कीमत बढ़ चुकी है। गरीब आवाम कहाँ जाएं? के इलेक्ट्रिक वाले पैसे बढ़ा रहे हैं, गैस के पैसे बढ़ रहे हैं, पेट्रोल के पैसे बढ़ रहे हैं। हुकूमत गरीब आवाम और इस तरफ देख नहीं रही, जबकि मेरी नज़र के अंदर पेट्रोल के पैसे नीचे आने चाहिए। दुनिया में हर जगह जब पेट्रोल के पैसे आलमी मंडी में नीचे आते हैं तो वहाँ पे उन कंट्रीज में पेट्रोल की कीमत नीचे कर दी जाती है। एक वाहिद हमारा मुल्क है कि पेट्रोल के पैसे बढ़ा दिए जाते हैं। हुकूमत को चाहिए कि वो चाहती क्या है भाई।
Basic necessities, food, electricity, gas are now luxuries for many families. Unemployment has reached alarming levels, with many educated youth unable to find work. Yet, the political leadership appears more focused on survival in power than offering relief to the people. The burden of economic mismanagement is being shouldered entirely by the common citizen. As inflation spirals out of control, Pakistan's political elite has failed to introduce meaningful reforms, control utility prices, or offer subsidies to the vulnerable. Imran, echoing the voice of many, expresses his helplessness.
गरीब आवाम के साथ क्या चाहती है? खुदकुशी कर ले, मर जाए, क्या करे? एक किसी चीज़ की फैसिलिटीज़ हमारे मुल्क में नहीं दी जाती है, बल्कि पैसे बढ़ाए चले जाते हैं। गरीब आवाम को मारने पे तुली हुई है हुकूमत। मैं हुकूमत से कहता हूँ, ज़रा नज़रसानी करे, गरीब आवाम को किसी चीज़ की रिलीफ दें ताकि गरीब आवाम सुकून से सो सके।
Many in Pakistan believe that unless urgent, transparent and people-centric policies are introduced, the crisis may lead to widespread social unrest. But the administration continues to make cosmetic announcements with no real change on the ground. There is no visible action to curb corruption, improve tax collection from the elite, or reduce extravagant government expenses. Instead, the brunt is passed on to those who can least afford it. Citizens are demanding accountability, not press conferences, not promises, but policies that actually deliver relief. If the political leadership continues to ignore these cries, the fallout may go beyond economic hardship. It may threaten the very stability of the country. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. We invite you to keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.